Princess Diana was everything the royal family is not. The people's princess, affectionately known by the world as Lady Di, was fashionable, trendy, and had a knack for connecting with the public. It's no wonder she sometimes butt heads with the Queen. Diana living an exciting life, pouring her passion into supporting charities and raising her children to be well-rounded individuals despite their royal circumstance. A true trendsetter, Princess Diana was instrumental in shaping 80s fashion. Before and after her marriage into the monarchy, Diana became known as an icon and one of the most influential people of the 20th century. Born in 1961 as Lady Diana Frances Spencer, the story of the future princess wasn't exactly a rags-to-riches situation. Diana was the third child to Edward John Spencer, Viscount of Althorp, and Frances Ruth Burke Roche, Viscountess of Althorp. Before meeting her future beau, Diana already had royal blood in her veins. Viscount is a royal title ranked above barons but below dukes and earls. Diana had two sisters, Lady Jane Fellows and Lady Sarah McCorquodale, and a brother, Charles Spencer, 9th Earl Spencer. The family lived at Park House in the remote and quiet country village of Sandringham, Norfolk, where they rented a home on Queen Elizabeth II's estate. The Queen had a country home on the land that she was quite fond of, and so Diana and her family would occasionally cross paths with the royals and their two younger children, Andrew and Edward, when they were staying at the neighboring home. After Diana's parents divorced when she was 7, she first moved to London to live with her mother. A custody battle eventually placed her and her siblings with their father and stepmother, Reine, the Countess of Dartmouth, with whom young Diana did not get along. As a young child, Diana was homeschooled but later attended Riddlesworth Hall School and West Heath School. Although she was a talented swimmer, diver, dancer, and even won her school's Outstanding Community Spirit Award, she unfortunately did not excel in academics and failed her O-level examinations not once, but twice. As a teenager, Diana also attended a finishing school in Switzerland called the Institut Alpin Videmanet, where she was taught how to be a proper upper-class lady. Her lessons ranging from social graces and etiquette to riding and dining. She was being prepared for a royal life, whether she wanted to be or not. After leaving finishing school in 1978, Diana moved into her mother's flat in London, where she learned to live independently. During this period, the future princess learned to cook. She worked as a house cleaner, a restaurant hostess, and became a dance instructor. Diana evidently had a strong desire to make her own way in the world while she could. At 19, Diana landed a job as a kindergarten assistant at an elementary school and moved into her own flat in Coleherne Court in Earl's Court in central London. Pretty extravagant neighborhood for a school teacher. Diana's time working made her the first royal bride to have a job before being married.
I wanted to teach children, they said why not come along, so I first started off doing afternoons.
In 1977, Diana met Prince Charles. He was 13 years her senior and at the time was dating her sister, Lady Sarah. As soon as Diana and Charles announced their relationship, the media was obsessed with the courtship. Charles invited Diana to the royal yacht, Britannia, which was followed by a trip to Balmoral Castle, the family's Scottish residence, where Diana first encountered her future mother-in-law, the Queen. Her Majesty must have expressed some approval because in 1981, Charles proposed to Diana, and within a few weeks, Diana left her job at the school and arrangements for the wedding of the century were underway.
She's been brave enough to take me on.
Diana's engagement ring almost deserves a story of its own. Inspired by her mother's engagement ring, the 18-karat white gold set had 14 diamonds with blue Ceylon sapphire and set Charles and the royal family back around £28,000. That's about $35,000. The ring was eventually passed down and now lives on the hand of the elegant Duchess, Kate Middleton.
It's about making your own future and your own destiny, and Kate will do a very good job of that.
The couple made their first public appearance together at a charity ball at Goldsmiths Hall in March of 1981. It was at that event where Diana met Grace Kelly, the beautiful actress and star who likely had an influence over Diana's effortless and elegant style. During their engagement, Diana moved into the royal residence of Clarence House with the Queen Mother, aka the wife of the late King George VI. Then, following complicated protocols, Diana moved into Buckingham Palace just before her wedding. When she was only 20 years old on July 29, 1981, Diana married Prince Charles. Their wedding took place at St. Paul's Cathedral with 2,650 of their nearest and dearest in attendance. The event was broadcast on television with nearly 1 billion people from 74 countries turning in to marvel at the opulent spectacle. The day became a moment in history and culture that most people who witnessed it recall to this day. Diana's dress alone was enough to put people in front of their TVs. The design of the dress was kept a secret right up until the ceremony. The dress was designed by husband and wife fashion team David and Elizabeth Emanuel and featured intricate embroidery over ivory taffeta and frilled antique lace which dates back to the era of Queen Mary. The gown had over 10,000 pearls sewn in, valuing the design at an estimated $115,000. Diana's puff-sleeved dress barely fit into the royal carriage that carried her and Charles to and from the cathedral, and it took her a few minutes to make it down the aisle, which is no wonder given how much that gown must weigh. Diana also wore a 25-foot-long tulle veil that attached to her sparkling 18th century Spencer family tiara. An intimate touch included the detail of a C and a D on her silk kitten-heeled shoes for Charles and Diana. The wedding also caused a stir when the couple made adjustments to the traditional vows, Diana choosing not to include the traditional vow to obey her husband. She also famously fumbled her words, calling the prince Philippe Charles instead of Charles Philippe. With that many eyes on them, who can blame her? After the wedding, Diana became the Princess of Wales and became the third highest ranking woman in the royal family after the Queen and the Queen Mother. She became the fifth in line to the throne following the Queen, Duke, Queen Mother, and Charles. A few months after the wedding, the royal couple announced that they were expecting a child. Once again, making headlines in the media, Diana broke royal protocol when she wore a bathing suit, exposing her barely there baby belly while vacationing on the beach. The Queen was apparently appalled, adding strain to their in-law relationship. Despite the beach scandal and a rough pregnancy, Diana gave birth to a healthy baby in June of 1982, who they named William. 2 years later, in 1984, Prince Harry was born. With William and Harry being heirs to the throne, it was customary for the family to have monopoly over the boy's education and daily life. Diana, however, wanted things a little different. She insisted on choosing her own baby names and refused a royal nanny. And as Harry and William grew older, she wanted to make her own decisions regarding her children's lives. Diana prioritized her children's well-being over their royal responsibilities. She wanted them to have a normal upbringing, as much as was possible anyway. This, of course, added fuel to the fire that was her relationship with the family. To the Queen's dismay, Diana retained her personal style after becoming a princess. Her trend-setting fashion choices were followed by press and people all over the world. Diana's wide-shouldered dresses became a staple piece in every woman's closet, launching a major trend that lasted into the 90s. Her short hair also went against the norm for royal princesses. Her pixie cut was modern, edgy, and became a popular style among young women. A particular pink chiffon blouse that she wore for a Vogue shoot ended up selling millions of copies after the famous publication. Diana's signature style as a chic modern woman and mother distanced her from the rigid fashion of the royal family. She did away with things like long gloves, stiff heels, and starch-straight suits, opting instead for comfortable trousers, loafers, and loose-fitting blouses. Diana felt that the overdone look of royal wear made her seem too unapproachable, especially when she was working with charities and working-class people. While traveling abroad, Diana would often seek out local designers to create custom pieces for her appearances in order to respect local cultures and support the economies. Diana's style has penetrated into the 21st century, with celebrities still looking to her wardrobe for inspiration. In an interview with Glamour in 2013, Rihanna said of Diana's style, "Every look was right. She had these crazy hats. She got oversized jackets. I loved everything she wore." Recently, Vogue produced a photo spread of top model Hailey Bieber Baldwin sporting Diana-inspired outfits, including her iconic bike shorts and oversized sweater combo, and her casual yet sophisticated jeans and blazer look. Diana really made cool athleisure a thing before it was a thing. Diana is still a major source of inspiration for designers and influencers today. There's no referencing 80s and 90s fashion without taking a piece of style that the princess played a role in popularizing. popularizing. It was because of Diana and her modern style that the public looked to the royal family for cultural cues at the turn of modernity. Diana was, as many perceived her, a regular, down-to-earth woman to whom they could look up to. Although it wasn't exactly part of Diana's signature style, the princess made sure to be seen wearing two special items. To announce her acceptance of Charles's wife, the Queen offered Diana the Cambridge Lover's Knot tiara on loan from the Crown Jewels collection. She also granted Diana the badge of the Royal Family Order.
They often have arguments.
But we don't.
No.
5 years into their marriage, Charles and Diana began to grow apart. The large age gap became too much. Charles restarted a relationship with a former girlfriend, Camilla Parker Bowles, while Diana began seeing Major James Hewitt, her former horseback riding instructor. In 1995, Diana spoke with BBC of Charles's relationship with Camilla. She said, "Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." In 1993, Diana wrote a letter to her butler, sharing her belief that Charles was in love with a then Tiggy Leg Burke, their children's former nanny. In her BBC interview, Diana also said, "My husband and I had to keep things together because we didn't want to disappoint the public." However, much to the Queen and Prince Philip's dismay, or perhaps not, the marriage ended in a divorce. In her famous 1995 BBC interview, Diana also opened up about her doubts that her husband was suitable to be a royal leader. After hearing this, the Queen allegedly felt that this was too far and wrote to Charles encouraging the separation. The divorce was settled in August of 1996. Diana received £17 million and an annual stipend of £400,000. And she was stripped of her title of Her Royal Highness. Unlike Charles, whose reputation was tarnished in the media by the divorce, Diana came through still beloved by the public. Despite the complications and scandals, she glided through with her grace and dignity intact, a feat she was praised for by the British subjects. Both Diana and Charles signed a confidentiality agreement prohibiting them from ever speaking about the marriage or divorce.
I don't want a divorce.
The paparazzi and cameras never stopped following Diana. She told BBC that the most daunting aspect of her responsibilities was the media attention. During her time as a royal, the public became vultures, obsessed with catching a glimpse of the princess. Cameras would hound her as she picked up her children from school, and when she was coming out of the gym or working out. Diana was treated as a celebrity even after leaving her marriage. On several occasions, the constant attention drove her to tears. She couldn't get a break. A downfall of Diana's open and honest personality was that the press often took advantage of her willingness to speak openly about her marriage and the royal family, often putting her in hot water with her in-laws. Diana also, in an effort that was ahead of her time, spoke very openly about her own struggle with mental health. In her BBC interview in 1995, she said, "I am finding it very difficult to cope with the pressures of being Princess of Wales, but I am learning to cope with it." By speaking openly about her struggles, Diana helped to destigmatize talking about mental health and asking for help. After realizing that the circus of media attention would never cease, Diana decided that she could use her platform for good. Diana became an ambassador for many charities and organizations, working closely with events in support of those living with HIV and AIDS and leprosy. This was groundbreaking at the time, as these diseases were still considered somewhat taboo, but Diana spoke about these causes with passion and an open heart, helping to destigmatize those who were suffering. She famously visited a hospital in Brazil for children living with HIV.
You can shake their hands and give them a hug. Heaven knows they need it.
In her humanitarian efforts, Diana was working with at least 100 different charities. She made major strides in banning the use of dangerous landmines, helping to raise awareness about the harmful effects on innocent people. She helped to pass several pieces of legislation to ban them. She worked directly with Halo Trust, an organization dedicated to clearing landmines in Angola and around the world. Diana also worked as an advocate for Centerpoint, an organization aimed at helping homeless people. Thanks to Diana linking publicly with the organization, the world became aware of the tragedy of youth homelessness, and the charity was able to get over 100,000 people off the streets. Diana's charity work made her even more loved by the people, and thus continued the stream of aggressive paparazzi in her life.
Breaking news coverage, Princess Diana is seriously injured.
In a day that rocked the nation and the entire world, Diana passed away when her car swerved off the road and crashed. 7 photographers who had been chasing her vehicle were put on trial for the incident. To this day, conspiracy theories exist as to the true cause of the event. The most likely scenario is that the paparazzi got totally out of hand, moving out of the realm of ethical journalism and causing the end of one of the most iconic and beloved figures of all time.
I admired and respected her for her energy and commitment to others.
In addition to her philanthropic work, Diana's essence lives on in pop culture, fashion, charity, and even royal life. The media's obsession with the People's Princess was never forgotten. Elton John rewrote and performed Candle in the Wind for her, and her name and likeness can be seen in commodities and shows like The Simpsons. Diana's fashion also lives on through endless exhibits, retrospectives, and magazine shoots that commemorate her timeless style. The charities that Diana helped and supported have continued to be funded by the royal family in her honor. In 2017, Attitude magazine honored Diana with their Legacy Award for her works with AIDS charities and communities. Diana's son, Prince Harry, has continued on her humanitarian work. At an AIDS conference in 2016, Harry gave a speech advocating for what his mother worked for decades before. He said, "It is time for us to step up and acknowledge that stigma and discrimination still act as the greatest barrier to our ability to defeat this disease once and for all." In 2005, Diana's other son, Prince William, became an advocate for another charity close to her mother's heart: homelessness. William began working with Centerpoint, and in an interview with Telegraph, he said, "My mother introduced that sort of area to me a long time ago. It was a real eye-opener, and I am very glad she did. It has been something I have held close to me for a long time." Maybe most importantly, Diana's more genuine and casual approach to royal life lives on through some of her successors. Her honesty and individuality paved the way for those such as Meghan Markle, who have and will take on leadership roles in their own way, working against archaic traditions for a more feminist monarchy and equal world. Diana's sons have both chosen to marry outside of the royal bloodline, bringing an updated sense of progressiveness and diversity to the royal family.
And I know that I can give love, and I'm very happy to do that, and I want to do that.
I've advocated for so long for women to use their voice, and then I was silent.
I think every strong woman in history has had to walk down a similar path.
The 2 women in Harry's life have strong opinions and strong voices, and both were silenced when they married into the royal family.
Were you silent or were you silenced?
The latter.
And I think it's the strength that causes the confusion and the fear.
But once they left, they were each able to speak their truths. So when it was announced Meghan Markle would be sitting down with Oprah for a tell-all interview, royal watchers couldn't help but be reminded of Princess Diana's tell-all with Martin Brashear in November 1995. And sadly, everyone discovered nothing much has changed in the 26 years since Princess Diana opened up about life behind the palace walls. From struggles with depression to getting ignored to problems with the press and pitting women against others, the similarities between the 2 interviews are shocking. Not only did Meghan wear Diana's bracelet so as to have a part of her mother-in-law with her during the interview, but the 2 women had similar poise and presence during their respected interviews. Channeling the strength of Diana, Meghan revealed to Oprah that she knew very little about the royal family before marrying into it, not fully understanding the role of the working royal and what it meant. While for Diana, she felt the pressure of not really knowing what the day-to-day would be like, revealing to Martin Brashear, "No one sat me down with a piece of paper and said, 'This is what is expected of you.'" As for what caused them to leave the royal family, well, for both women, it was from a lack of support. For Harry, he could see what the pressure was doing to Meghan and didn't want history repeating itself.
Because I can't begin to imagine what it must have been like for her.
For instance, you have so much pain inside yourself that you try and hurt yourself on the outside because you want help.
While his mother felt the pressure was stifling and affecting her life. One aspect of the pressure was the toll it was taking on each of their mental health. While in the confines of the palace, both Diana and Meghan admitted to struggling with depression, a surprise to many viewers who had no idea either woman was struggling with their mental health.
And that was a very clear and frightening, constant thought.
You didn't want to get out of bed, You felt misunderstood.
While Princess Diana talked about her postpartum depression, something that at the time was rarely discussed, she also revealed she suffered mental anguish from dietary problems.
You inflicted upon yourself because your self-esteem is at a low ebb and you don't think you're worthy or valuable.
But that they were willing to lie to protect other members of the family.
Unfortunately for Meghan, when she went to the institution, as she calls it, for help with her mental health, they chose to do nothing.
But they weren't willing to tell the truth to protect me and my husband.
But I was actually crying out because I wanted to get better.
While Diana did get treatment, but never really felt the full effects of it because she felt what she needed to heal was space and time, which she was unable to receive. Diana felt that the palace didn't quite know how to deal with someone suffering from depression, saying,
And obviously that was daunting because if you've never seen it before, how do you support it?
But depression wasn't the only thing these ladies struggled with while in the royal family. Meghan and Diana both opened up about how they were depicted in the press.
Portrayed in the media at that time, if I remember rightly, because I hadn't passed any O-levels and taken any A-levels, it was stupid.
Everyone in the institution knew it wasn't true.
So why didn't somebody just say that?
It's a good question.
Meghan told Oprah that she felt that the royal family would have her back when she married Prince Harry. But it turned out not to be the case, with the tabloids constantly writing headline after headline about the Duchess. Meghan even felt that the headlines that came out after it was announced she was doing the interview with Oprah were targeted. British tabloids published reports that several staff quit Meghan's employ because of bullying. The palace, which never responds to headlines like this, said it would investigate the matter. During Princess Diana's interview, she too spoke about the lack of protection she received from the palace, and believed they were waging a war against her when she split from Charles, saying that since she was the separated wife from the Prince of Wales, I was a problem, full stop. Never happened before. What do we do with her? She won't go quietly. That's the problem. One other issue plaguing both ladies was the press's need to pit them against other women. For Meghan, it was Kate, revealing in the interview that before Meghan and Harry's nuptials, it was Kate who made Meghan cry over dresses. The media went with the story that it was Meghan that made Kate cry, printing headline after headline about it. For Diana, it was Camilla, who she knew was having an affair with Charles, and while hurt, the media played up Diana's anger over the situation. It wasn't easy for both women to sit back and not say anything.
Someone's got to go out there and love people and show it.
I know there's an obsession with how things look, but has anyone talked about how it feels?
While the Meghan interview with Oprah continues to make headlines, it's no surprise as Diana's continues to do so even today.
She falls in love with the prince, and because of that, she has to lose her voice.
And while we could only hope things would have changed in the palace 26 years later, the changes from Meghan's might not be something we ever really see the solution to.
But by the end, she gets her voice back.
Gets her voice back.
Did you know we have Princess Diana to thank for the rise of the bodycon dress? A princess, philanthropist, and fashion icon, Diana is easily one of the most influential royals of all time. Diana's fashion was daring by any standard, and was especially shocking to the royal family, whose dress code was rejected by Diana's low necklines, high skirts, and statement jewelry. By mixing traditional and modern styles, Diana has become a fashion legend, whose influence can still be seen today. Whether she was breaking royal rules or following them, Princess Diana always dressed with purpose. Before her engagement to Prince Charles, the third child of John, eldest son of the 7th Earl of Spencer, Diana was working as a nanny, a job requiring a considerably less formal wardrobe. Before Diana's engagement, she owned 3 articles of clothing. The rest of her wardrobe was part of a communal closet she shared with her roommates, a far cry from the hundreds of ensembles she wore annually as a princess. Her favorite designers included Catherine Walker, Emmanuel, Dior, and Versace. Best described as sleek yet daring, Diana's signature pieces included wide-shouldered 2-piece skirt sets, flowy plunging gowns, statement earrings, colorful prints, and many stylish jeweled chokers. Diana did love the trends of the 80s, loud prints, big shoulders, and bright colors, but was always mindful of what her style communicated to the public. Diana especially loved to wear controversial controversial fashions to her charitable ventures. Among the princess's most controversial looks was a black strapless ball gown, worn to a recital in London shortly after Diana's engagement to Prince Charles was announced in 1981. The gown, a silky black piece by Emmanuel, featured a low, ruffled neckline, a wide waist sash, heavy crinoline, paired with drop earrings and a statement choker. Although this would be tame by today's standards, anyone associated with royalty has always been expected to dress quite conservatively, and strapless necklines have always been frowned upon by Queen Elizabeth. Photographers were quick to snap photos of the dress because of its open neckline. The dress was one of Diana's debut looks as a royal and had every news outlet talking about her fashion and the event to which it was worn, a fundraising concert at the Goldsmith Hall in London. Essentially, when Diana garnered more attention, good or bad, so did the charitable events she attended. Beyond the silhouettes of Diana's fashion, the fabric she wore played an important role. Royals are generally encouraged to wear stiff fabric to avoid photographs of wrinkly attire, so stiff wools are a must, whereas linens and silks are avoided. Diana was always mindful of this and used fabric as a way of enhancing her presence, something the princess herself called her caring wardrobe. Di's ensembles for philanthropic events were characterized by a noticeable lack of gloves, something Meghan Markle also channeled while out at events with Diana's son, Prince Harry. The Queen always wears gloves in public to avoid exposure to germs, but as Meghan Markle learned from Diana, skin-to-skin contact with the public has a bigger impact. As Hilary Lynn, the curator of Kensington Palace's 2017 exhibit Diana, Her Fashion Story, noted, Diana never wore gloves because she liked to hold people's hands. She would sometimes wear chunky jewelry so that children could play with it, and she never wore hats to children's hospitals after a while because she said you couldn't cuddle in a hat. Besides her choice of textiles, Diana was well aware of how to present herself in the public eye and used a few tricks to keep her fashion a little more modest when she was involved in royal affairs. The clutches she was often photographed sporting also had a hidden purpose. As handbag designer Anya Hindmarch, a favorite of Diana's, recalled to Telegraph, "We used to laugh when we designed what she called her cleavage bags, little satin clutches which she would cover her cleavage with when she stepped out of cars." Diana's everyday fashion is iconic, but most of her looks pale in comparison to her famous wedding gown. Diana's gown was a product of its time, encompassing many 80s trends. The dress has every bell and whistle imaginable, a 25-foot train, ruffles, bows, and of course, its huge shoulders. The dress's co-designer Elizabeth Emmanuel of then-husband and wife duo Emmanuel told the Daily Mail in 2017 she was going in as Lady Diana Spencer but coming out as the Princess of Wales. His then-wife Elizabeth Emmanuel added that the design duo went for the drama with Diana's dress, embodying a 1980s version of a fairy princess. The dress was so well received by the public that hours after the couple's union, replicas began surfacing at a fraction of the cost, with some as low as $467. Sewing pattern brands like McCall's and Berta were also quick to replicate the pattern and produce it en masse. In 2018, Di's dress was named one of the most influential wedding dresses of all time and has inspired wedding fashions since the 1980s, with big sleeves, ball gown silhouettes, and long trains still being in demand in the bridal industry. Perhaps her most memorable look after her 1981 wedding gown was Diana's revenge dress. On the day Prince Charles publicly admitted he was having an affair with Camilla Parker Bowles, Diana was spotted in a risque, by royalty standards, black dress. Diana's famous revenge gown by Christina Stambolian broke every fashion rule of British royalty. Not only are royal women expected to wear skirts that cannot be more than 4 inches above the knee, but cleavage is not allowed at all. Some other rules Diana broke that day: her heels were too high, making her look taller than many of the men present. Her hair was also too styled, whatever that means, and her dark eyeliner was too bold to be considered natural. A rule-breaking ensemble, the dress also made a statement from Diana herself. As her marriage began to publicly crumble, Diana rose to meet the news in an unforgettable outfit, looking braver than she must have felt. The black may be a statement to mourn her marriage, or simply a choice of color far removed from royalty's usual light color colorful ensemble. During her time as royalty, Diana broke more than a few fashion rules and got creative with her accessories, especially the Queen's jeweled chokers. Many royals before Diana have worn jeweled chokers. The item has never really been out of vogue in England. Red ribbon chokers became popular in the 1790s as a not-so-subtle mockery of France's ongoing revolution against the upper classes. Afterwards, the look stayed in style into the Victorian era, with Queen Victoria and Queen Alexandra of Denmark making them popular worldwide, so much so that the lower classes began fashioning chokers from simple ribbons and small heirlooms. So although Diana certainly isn't the first English royal to rock a choker, she breathed new life into the aesthetic. One of Diana's most memorable fashion moments was when she wore the Queen's emerald and diamond choker as a headband. The piece, worn to a formal ball in 1985 during a visit to Australia with Prince Charles, was one of the first signs that the princess would become an icon of unconventional royal fashion. In 1986, Diana reprised this iconic look on a trip to Tokyo, styling a black velvet diamond-studded choker with a sapphire center as a hairband. The Princess of Wales also frequently wore pants and was the first member of the royal family to be photographed wearing pants to an evening event. Although trousers are not forbidden by the Queen, the women of the royal family much prefer skirts and save jeans for truly casual occasions, which is why Kate Middleton herself hardly ever dons trousers. For public engagements including speeches, traveling, and working out, Princess Di often opted for pants. Diana was known for wearing tuxedo suits to events, which disobeyed more of a guideline than a hard rule, but still stirred controversy. According to new research, Diana is the most influential royal family member in the fashion industry. In 2018, List, a designer reselling platform, released the results of an interactive study which found that Diana's style has had the biggest fashion impact of any royalty. As List editor Charlotte Austin notes, Diana's fashion has had the biggest ripple on fashion trends endorsed by royals over the years. Diana's lasting legacy as a trendsetter and continual source of inspiration for generations of designers and fashion lovers makes the Diana effect an incredibly powerful fashion force, Austin says. Among Diana's biggest trend-setting styles are pearl embellishments, a style Diana embraced in jewelry, outfits, and on her wedding gown, which Kate Middleton now embraces. In recent years, pearl embellishments have made a fashion comeback, with Kate Middleton, Michelle Obama, and even Rihanna all embracing pearls. We also have the Princess of Wales to thank for little black dresses popping up on the fashion radar. Ever since Di donned her infamous revenge dress in 1992, searches for LBDs have increased, with the fashion market embracing new LBD styles each year as its own category of fashion. Other trends Diana inspired include women's pantsuits, blue velvet, bodycon dresses, and bold shoulders. The princess's mix of menswear-inspired looks, athleisure before it was cool, and elegance have inspired modern celebrity looks. Diana's go-to casual look, which consists of statement boots paired with straight-cut jeans, a casual tee, and an oversized menswear blazer, is one other fashion icons are quick to adapt. Gigi Hadid herself has added an arsenal of oversized blazers to her wardrobe, sharing Diana's effortless style. For her 2019 Cannes Festival look, actress Priyanka Chopra channeled Princess Di as well. Diana attended the festival only once in 1987. Her gown, a pleated powder blue Christine Walker piece with a complimentary scarf, was revived for Chopra's 2019 outfit. Sporting a white pleated jumpsuit with a corset bodice paired with a matching neck cape made by Saudi Arabian brand Honayada was clearly inspired by the princess. Diana's own daughters-in-law have also taken notes. Kate is often seen sporting similar looks to Diana, including a slim red maxi coat, a pale blue dress suit, and a pink Alexander McQueen dress and hat combo Kate wore in 2017 that bears a striking resemblance to a dress Diana wore in 1987. Meghan Markle has also donned similar styles, such as a green wool maternity jacket, pantsuits, and Meghan's second wedding day dress, a high-necked, fitted white gown reminiscent of a gown Diana wore to a reception at Spencer House in 1992. Elegant and bold, the Princess of Wales was the OG fashion rule breaker in the royal family. Her fashion decisions were never without purpose, and many of Diana's best controversial looks drew attention to her work as a philanthropist, adding to her self-named caring wardrobe.
her appearance for the cameras yesterday guaranteed her picture in the papers, even though he got his story.
If a picture says 1,000 words, a picture of a dress says 1,000,000. During her complicated life full of paparazzi and in-laws, Diana, Princess of Wales, found both solace and empowerment through fashion, discovering the ability to influence and awe the public through her style choices. Diana's fashion choices and lifestyle over the years inspired people all over the world. She caught on to the power of fashion. Who knew an outfit could say so much? And made one very bold choice which created a timeless story of independence and female power. It's been called a revenge dress and considered a tongue-in-cheek representation of Diana's feelings post-split from Prince Charles. The truth is that through that iconic little black dress, Lady Di was able to reclaim her identity, her independence, and her personhood. Diana showed the world that she was still the woman she'd been before marrying into the royal family, but now, instead of being the naive and shy 19-year-old, she was armed with the wisdom and experience of a woman and mother in her 30s. That one dress became a symbol of Diana's empowerment after a difficult decade and very trying marriage. On June 29, 1994, Lady Diana, Princess of Wales, attended Vanity Fair's annual fundraising event for Serpentine Gallery in London's popular Hyde Park. For the star-studded event, Diana made a surprising dress choice that stunned many of the attendees, viewers of the event, and most of all, her husband's conservative family. The dress truly became a symbol of Diana's empowerment because of the other events that took place that very same night. The curve-hugging black cocktail dress was a custom creation by Greek fashion designer Christina Stambolian. The dress featured an off-the-shoulder dipped V neckline and asymmetrical hemline that cut above her knees. The dress also had a sheer scarf attached to her waist that wafted behind her in the famous photographs, creating an image of ephemeral beauty and elegance. Diana accessorized like a pro with a black clutch, dark sheer tights, a sparkling diamond tennis bracelet, and classic black velvet pointed pumps. Of course, the whole outfit was accented with Diana's signature short pixie cut of coiffed blonde waves. The statement accessory piece of the ensemble was the pearl choker with its sizable gems sitting at her collarbone. On the day of Diana and Charles's wedding, the Queen Mother had gifted the bride-to-be a Sri Lankan sapphire and diamond brooch as a wedding present. Eventually, Diana had the sapphire mounted on a necklace which she wore more often. It can be seen on her neck in many press photos over the years, including her famous dance with John Travolta at the White House in 1996 for the Met Gala. Diana, now a confident woman in her 30s, was wearing the dress, not the other way around. The People's Princess strutted through the row of cameras and onlookers and performed her official duties without ever letting the cracks show. The dress itself was a bold choice for a member of Charles's family, and had Diana still been under the royal thumb, the outfit choice would have undoubtedly been vetoed, especially when thinking back to the first royal outfit she was ever photographed in. When Diana and Charles first announced their engagement, she donned an ill-fitting belted blue skirt and blazer with a stuffy white collar that oozed the conservative style of her in-laws. While Diana was putting on a happy face and cocktail dress at the Vanity Fair event, her husband, the Prince of Wales, was busy appearing on a primetime television interview. Charles's planned and scripted announcement came through the much-anticipated broadcast and revealed to the world what everyone feared was true. Charles admitted that he had been unfaithful to his wife. After a year and a half of separation and many more years of unhappiness, the Princess of Wales and the Prince of Wales were getting a divorce. The 2.5-hour interview by journalist Jonathan Dimbleby was an attempt to shield Prince Charles from the inevitable public backlash after revealing mistreatment to the country's sweetheart. The interview tried to paint a more positive picture of the royal crown. Prince Charles was seeking understanding from the nation's subjects while being relatively open about his deep emotional relationship with his longtime love, Camilla Parker Bowles. Before ever laying his eyes on his wife-to-be, Charles had a years-long relationship with Camilla. The pair hoped to be married, but fate and the royal family had other plans. The most difficult hurdle being that she was already married to Andrew Parker Bowles. Even during her marriage, however, she and Charles remained close friends, often hunting together. Charles was even made godfather of Camilla and Andrew's son, son Tom. In his interview, Charles also stated that after years of trying to make amends and get along for the sake of the throne and their children, his marriage to Diana had irretrievably broken down. Much to the royal family's dismay, Charles received little sympathy for his actions, while Diana, on the other hand, was praised for her strength amid the situation. In his later authorized biography, Charles admitted that he had begun an affair with Camilla in 1986, only a few years after his wedding to Diana. The Sun, a newspaper, published a photo of Diana in her now famous black cocktail dress under the headline, "The Thrilla He Left to Woo Camilla," insinuating that Diana's knockout figure and indisputable style were undeserving of being left for someone else. The dress, along with Diana's positive attitude, showed everyone that even through a very public divorce, she was still herself. In the photos from that evening, despite the fact that there was probably a lot going on beneath the surface, Diana appeared happy, confident, and in control of her own life. She was finally free. Who knew one little black dress could say all that? The night that Charles aired out their marriage's dirty laundry to the entire world, Diana could have easily stayed home, away from the public eye. She could have hid herself away. Instead, she put on a little black dress and honored her scheduled appearance, a move that earned her just as much or more respect than her husband's honesty. Prince Charles and Diana's separation in December of 1992 came as a surprise to many, but to those close to Diana and the family, they all knew it was a long time coming. Since their marriage in 1981, Diana and Prince Charles had had difficulty finding happiness with each other. Despite the way that the couple was portrayed as happily smitten in the media, there was often conflict behind closed doors. A large age gap combined with Charles's feelings for another woman drove wedge after wedge between the spouses. The couple would play the role of partners for public events and tours of British colonies, but at home, it was a different story. While Diana had a home residence at Kensington Palace, Charles preferred to live at his country house in Highgrove. Diana told BBC that they would do their engagements together, but their private life was obviously turbulent. Diana's marriage to Prince Charles began when she was only 19 years old. She revealed in years to come that those days of early marriage were extremely difficult, leading to extreme issues affecting her mental health. On top of the confusion at being thrown into a world of titles and strict formalities, Diana was also dealing with the knowledge that her new husband was still in love with his ex-girlfriend. It was quite a lot to handle. During a candid interview with BBC in 1995, Diana opened up about her struggles with her health, anxiety, and an eating disorder that became a constant throughout her marriage. She told the reporter, "I had bulimia for a number of years, and that's like a secret disease," and also described it as a symptom of her difficult marriage. In the early days of Diana and Charles's marriage, the princess made every effort to hide her illness and consistently denied it to the media and her family. When she did finally allow herself to be open about her struggles, she found that she was largely supported by the public for her vulnerability. Many people could relate to her story and found comfort in her honesty. In the same interview, Diana revealed that she'd known for a long time about her husband's feelings and relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles.
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
In the new season of Netflix's The Crown, writers explore Diana's struggle with mental health, including the eating disorder she dealt with during her marriage. Actress Emma Corrin portrays the young princess and brings an artistic light to the real-life suffering that Diana experienced. In a way, the black Christina Stambolian dress became incredibly symbolic of Diana's life as a royal princess because of how strikingly similar it was to the gown that she chose for her very first public engagement event with her new fiancé. In March of 1981, shortly after becoming engaged to Prince Charles, Diana made an appearance at Goldsmiths Hall for a charity event. For the evening, the young woman, freshly out of her days as a school teacher's assistant, chose a glamorous dress like those she'd seen on Hollywood stars and other high society ladies her age. In the tell-all Diana, her true story in her own words, she is quoted saying, "I got this black dress from the Emanuels, and I thought it was okay because girls my age wore this dress. I hadn't appreciated insinuated that I was now seen as a royal lady, although I'd only got a ring on my finger as opposed to 2 rings. All eyes were on Lady Di as she walked in wearing a strapless black satin and taffeta dress by the Emanuels, the same designers who later created the princess's wedding dress with its ivory taffeta and 25-foot-long train. Diana paired the dress with a diamond tennis bracelet. The 1981 dress was floor-length but slightly more revealing than would be expected of a royal wife to be. The designers hadn't anticipated that the paparazzi would manage to catch the to-be princess leaning over while getting out of her car. The movie star dress allowed the world to see Diana as more than just a school teacher. She was someone worthy of all the fame and power that came with her new role. For the first time, people saw Lady Di as a celebrity, and the press and paparazzi pounced, not once, easing up for the rest of her marriage and after. The designer of the gown, Elizabeth Emanuel, told British Vogue that on that first night, we witnessed the birth of a fashion icon before our very eyes. What happened when Diana chose a similar yet more mature look almost 2 decades later was a woman coming full circle on a difficult time in her life, using fashion once again to empower herself. The decidedly unroyal shorter hemline and slimmer cut of the Stambolian was the exclamation of a woman who no longer had heaps to prove to everyone around her. She could just be herself, a woman, a mother, a philanthropist, and a fashion icon. She could just be Diana. Although it's hard to imagine history playing out any differently, legend has it that Diana almost wore something completely different that night. Although there were conflicting opinions as to what she was originally planning on wearing, a Valentino ensemble was leaked to the press before the event, causing her to supposedly change her outfit choice. In a 2013 Channel 4 documentary, the dress designer Christina Stambolian said that Diana had purchased the dress a few years earlier, but that it had been sitting in the back of her closet because the princess found the figure-hugging dress to be a little too daring. From the moment that Diana did make the decision to slip into that iconic black cocktail dress, her style shifted from conservative approach with a modern twist to her own version of 90s fashion with uncomplicated, elegant lines and colors. Diana was a woman in her own right, and her position as an icon of fashion was never stronger. To this day, Diana's post-divorce fashion lives on in the world of both luxury designs and everyday street styles for women and mothers on the go. Diana had already long established herself as a fashion icon, often using clothing to make her presence and points known. This dress in particular, some speculated, was what sealed the deal on the inevitable royal divorce. After the initial separation, the divorce process went on for a few years before at long last becoming finalized. Diana and Charles, however, quickly moved on and established lives away from one another. Charles began seeing Camilla in a more official capacity, and the pair eventually tied the knot in 2005, making Camilla the Duchess of Cornwall. The couple is still together to this day. After losing her HRH title, Diana continued to dedicate a large part of her life to the philanthropic work she'd begun under her title of princess. She cared deeply about her work in abolishing landmines, raising funds for cancer patients, and supporting the HIV and AIDS communities through her landmark AIDS center in South London. Post-divorce, Diana's style shifted to accommodate her new lifestyle, which was still at the center of public attention, but at least now she was allowed to do it her own way. Diana began wearing simple and practical styles like the utilitarian chinos and white blouse she wore while advocating against minefields in Angola in 1997. On the contrary, for evening events and galas, Diana amped it up with elegant and glamorous gowns by David Sassoon, Catherine Walker, Versace, and Dior. After the official divorce papers were signed, Diana retained her apartments at Kensington Palace, where she'd been living for most of her marriage. The family also allowed her to continue using the jewelry she'd had access to as an HRH. Diana dated a couple of potential new suitors, but filled most of her time with the charities and spending time with her kids. Staying true to her identity as a philanthropist and passion for donating to charities, Diana eventually put the infamous little black dress up for auction, along with 79 other cocktail and evening gowns. The auction took place at Christie's in New York, and the proceeds benefited the Royal Marsden Hospital Cancer Fund and the AIDS Crisis Trust. The dress sold for a reported $65,000. Small change for a piece of history. Altogether, the dress auction raised over $800,000 for charity. Diana's life with the royal family has been well documented over the years, with endless documentaries, films, and books going over the triumphs and struggles of Lady Di. Since the moment she caught the attention of the press, she was beloved by the public, and her every move was carefully dissected, including her clothing and fashion choices. The little black dress told the world that Lady Di, the people's princess, was not going down without a fight. Tell us about your most empowering outfit. Remember to subscribe for more videos about powerful women and stars.